Hey, Stephen Evans. Delighted to be chatting with you.
All right, Terry. Good to speak to you again. It's been a while, hasn't it? Now
it has, yeah. Three years.
Couple of years.
Yeah,
couple of years.
Yeah, you invited me into your studio, Radio Clatterbridge.
Radio Clatterbridge. Yeah, it was 3 years ago. In fact, yeah, it was probably about 3.5 years ago when you came into the studio and dropped your book in.
That's right. Yeah.
And said, "Does anyone want to read that?" And I went, "Well, yeah, hang on." Anyway, you were gone as quick as you came in. You dropped your book off.
I felt a bit creepy going in.
Yeah. So I had a read, and then the rest is history, so we say. Like Heather had a read as well because I shared it with her. She does some book reviews with me, and we had a read through it, and then got back in touch with her and said, "You fancy coming over?" Yeah. And you were a bit apprehensive, actually.
My nerves went. It was the first time I'd ever sat in a recording studio with the lights on saying live, you are live. But you and Heather made me feel really comfortable in between playing songs and things and in between chatting. You gave me, a clue what the questions were going to be coming up. I was there for about an hour and a half, I think. I was supposed to go and chat to you for 5 minutes, I think, and an hour and a half later.
We were saying 10, 15 minutes, but, it was interesting. And when it's interesting, you just may as well just take the whole show out because it's a 2-hour show. And I think it was probably about an hour and a half you were you were in there. But, it's interesting. That's happened with other authors, funnily enough. Yeah. And it's happened with, I tell you, it did happen with John Barnes, Jan Mulvey, Howard Kendall when they came in.
Yeah.
And other authors you may not be or may be familiar with a couple of them. Gina Kirkham from the Wirral and one or two from your side, Liverpool side as well, but names are escaping me at the minute now. But yeah, and they go on for 2 hours sometimes because it gets really interesting talking about the content of your book. And you can't really review a book properly in 2 hours. All right, you don't want in 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to give away the plot and what's going on, but you can have a good chat about it without revealing too much.
It was the process, like the background, what gave you the motivation to write and things like that, and the writing habits and what's your next bit of work and things like that.
Well, that's it. It's exactly that, and of course, your book's based around places you knew as well. So you ask about that. Why did you pick this place, and and all that sort of stuff. And it's just good to get a picture of how you portrayed it and how you and why you did it and all that. So that was the good experience about listening to why you'd done it.
I really enjoyed it. I really did. It was a big landmark for me. Can we chat, maybe split it up into 3 sections, and we talk about Radio Clatterbridge, and then maybe Level Playing Field, and then your association with Liverpool FC, with the Disabled Association?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Yeah.
How did you get started? For anyone who doesn't know, can you tell us about Radio Clatterbridge, one of the oldest radio stations in the country?
Well, we think, in fact, I'm pretty sure it is the oldest in the country. 19th of April, 1951, it was formed. Yeah. There was another one, I think it's Newcastle Hospital Radio, was formed the same year, but they were later that year. Yeah. So I think we are the oldest, and it was formed then by Monty Lister, who you'll be familiar with the
Radio name. Radio Merseyside,
Yeah, first interview with the Beatles, which he did for Radio Clatterbridge back in 1961 or 61, I think it was.
Didn't he get told off by Epstein about that? Said he was naughty. I'm reading somewhere today about that.
Quite possibly. I don't quite recollect that story, but hey ho, he did the interview, and we've still got it in our archives there, and we still use it on occasion.
It's still available, isn't it? I listened to that today on the archive section on the Radio Clatterbridge website.
It is. It's still on our website. Yeah. It always will be. Yeah. We use it occasionally. When we have our birthday, we always play it out, as you do.
Yeah. It's 70 years old.
70. Yeah, 70. Yeah. And actually, our 70th birthday was the same day. Unfortunately, God bless his socks. The Duke of Edinburgh passed away, and we were having all our celebrations on air that day. And of course, come midday. We were right in the middle of our day with all these celebrations, and we had quite a few celebs on who'd said a bit for us and, said this, that, and the other, and programs lined up. And of course, we had to cancel it all at midday because the obvious announcements. And then we had to go to, a more subdued content, if you like, and respect, what had happened. So
there was a national blackout, wasn't it? I know I was sitting and listening to the car radio, and suddenly an announcement came on. And then they said, now because of that, we're going to go off air.
Yeah, it's protocol with anything like that. There's a system in place for any, if there's any royal deaths or anything like that, or anything massive happens, of what you've got to do. And you go to a somber music and just go through the process, so you don't play, you're not going to play all happy stuff and hey, we're all playing this and so's died. You just can't do that, can you? It doesn't sit right. And
Oh, first then, how did you start your life as a presenter there for Radio Clatterbridge?
Well, for want of a better word, I was going to say I had a normal job at one point, but in 2009 I got seriously ill and ended up in intensive care, or ICU, as you and I both know it now, at Arrow Park with severe pneumonia, which quickly developed into total organ failure. And pretty much all the doctors said I should have died, But anyway, as you can see, I'm still here to tell the tale. But when I came out of that illness, I still never recovered totally. So I've been left with a heart defect, and I've got arthritis, which I had anyway, but it became worse. And so it left me with a disability, really. So I couldn't go back to my original job, which I used to do, which was quite a manual job,
Wait, Nestle was it?
Yeah, Cereal Partners, in Bromborough. So I did that for 17 years. And previous to that, I did 17 years in the army. So, I was a pretty fit guy then, So it was a bit of a come down, and I had to go into a more sedentary role, didn't I? So I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I did spend 6 months to a year after I came out of hospital and I was recovering, because I was doing nothing at home. I started that rocky road to go into the pub every day to start with, and and you start going down the wrong road, and I suddenly or very quickly realized that, hang on, I was watching other people in the pub doing the same thing, and thinking, these guys are here every day, and then all of a sudden I thought, actually, so am I at the minute. This is not good. This is going to go the wrong way if I'm not careful. You hear of all sorts of experiences of people ending up passing away and dying because of excess drink and alcoholism and all that. So I knocked it on the head pretty much, and I looked around at what I could do, and I applied to Radio Clatterbridge and what was called 7 Waves Radio in the end, just to try and get some involvement in there to see, just see how it felt, because I didn't know anything about media, and it was always something I was interested in. So I got a reply off both, but Clatterbridge were first. Said, come in for an interview. And, that was back in 2010. And then 7 years later, I became chairman of the station. I haven't looked back, and I absolutely love it. As you know, I've interviewed a few people along the way. So lots of programs, and some great experiences. And I still love it. Love it,
Did you get any training for becoming a presenter, for speaking live on air? Did you have the confidence initially, or were you a bit apprehensive about going live?
I thought I'd be quite confident at it, being the type of person I am. But the first time I went in front of the mic, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And I thought, come on, this isn't you. You've got to do it. Come on. And so I did it, but it was more difficult than I thought. It really was, But once you get into it, it's really easy. But I can understand how people get apprehensive, like you were, coming into a studio, and you panic about
the dark room
into this mic, and how many people are listening to me, and I don't want to make a mistake, and and it's it does, or it can get to you,
It's like green live button as well. The light that comes on, you are live. It's scary.
That's it. Live now or whatever, and you look at that and you think, oh my word, be careful what I say, and you're treading carefully, you're being quiet, you don't know what. Absolutely. But one of the guys who was a presenter there at the time, a guy called Vic Triggle. He trained me up for a couple of months, 3 months, on how to present and how to operate all the equipment. Now that was fairly good. It gives you enough basic knowledge, but I took it upon myself then to do a course with the National Broadcasting School, which just happened to be at Radio City in the tower. So I spent 2 weeks every day up the tower, working with some of the best presenters that Radio City had and still have, at that time, the Rick Hortons of this world, the Rossies you'll have heard, on over the years on Radio City, and a few others as well, worked with them for 2 weeks. And that was like pretty much a crash course on how to do it, because 2 weeks is not enough really, but it does give you a good idea. And that gave me a good footing really to go ahead with it all, and made me more comfortable on there. And as I say, I've not looked back since then really, you know. It's been great.
What's the coverage for Radio Clatterbridge? Is it limited to the hospital and that sort of community of Clatterbridge, or is it?
Well, because we're registered with Ofcom, because we've got an Ofcom license to broadcast.
Play music.
Our remit is actually for the health park only. Okay. So strictly speaking, even though we've got a transmitter and we go out on AM medium wave, we also stream our content now. You know, we're online as well. We go out on 1386 AM, which means you can pick us up on the car radio, or any of the, you know, standard radios that have got medium wave band on. You can pick us up on that. And it does stretch as far as into Wales, Flintshire, and up to the M62 in Liverpool. And, you know, you can still get as near up by the M6 going from down the M56 towards the M6, you know. And then you lose us. But strictly speaking, we're only supposed to cover the health park, which is about a mile in radius. But it goes much further than that. But our remit and what we're supposed to be to transmitting to is just the health park. And that's what we're licensed for. Although we're looking to extend that to include Arrow Park, and we've since got not the Ofcom license, but because we stream our output as well, we broadcast to Clatterbridge Cancer Centre, the one that moved to Liverpool.
Clatterbridge
Cancer Centre was it was in the health park, wasn't it? At Clatterbridge. Then they moved over to a purpose-built centre in Liverpool. And they have tried to keep in touch with us, and they've got us on there because I think they still have the bedside units over there, or they built them in. So we're on their broadcasting system over there, which is good for us, because anyone can listen to our content on the internet. We don't need a license to do that. If we're on a radio wave band, you know, we need Ofcom permission and a license. So it's all a bit complicated and probably sounds a little bit long-winded what I've said. But
no, not at all. No. What's your schedule now? What you still doing the sports on the afternoon, sports review, the sports roundup?
Yeah, I still do sports on a Saturday, 2 to 5. But obviously, I don't do that when Liverpool are at home on a Saturday, because
I know where you are.
At the game. I'm at the game, as you know. But every other week, I'm live in the studio 2 to 5 doing sport, and then I do a coffee club program on a Friday 10 till midday, and a few standing programs as well here and there, you know.
So another aspect of your day-to-day life now is level playing field. For anyone who's never heard of that, can you, I don't know, give us a bit of a background, tell us what this is about? Level playing field,
which I'm a director and company secretary for, as a volunteer though. And they have full-time employees who work for the companies, and they're a pretty big company, a high-profile company that are
got a bit of a thing behind me as well.
Yeah, I've noticed, mate. Yeah, very good. I was going to say, Level Playing Field are sponsored and funded by the Premier League and the Fans Fund. So
I didn't know that.
We get a lot of funding off them to help them run the business, although they do have income that comes in from them doing audits and things like that. Because what basically Level Playing Field is about is campaigning for accessible stadia for disabled fans. It used to be just football when it started, how many years ago? 10, 12 years ago, or whatever it was. But now they've branched into horse racing, tennis, rugby, cricket. I'm looking to go into motorsport as well. So it's trying to cover all sports venues, basically, make them accessible for disabled people. That's whether you're in a wheelchair or you're on a stick, or you've just got a non-visible disability, So that's what Level Playing Field's all about.
Okay. How can people get involved with this? I've looked at the website today, and it said you can become a member if you've got, like, I don't know, someone who you know is disabled, that you can sort of help get to sporting venues.
Yeah, you can. I mean, anyone can become a member. At one point, we used to say you have to pay a nominal fee.
I think it was a year I've seen.
If you wanted to. But actually, if I remember rightly, I can't swear to it, I think we waived that when we set up the new website, because that's a reasonably new website the last few years. But I think we waived that, and anyone can just join up, just get in touch with them. The contact details are on the website, and let them know you're interested, and you become a member. It doesn't. So you don't actually get a lot out of that, but you'll get regular newsletters emailed to you, and it keeps you in touch with what's going on in sport about accessibility for stadia. As you can see on the headline page you've got behind you, it's promoting inclusivity and diversity in sport, for spectators. Yeah.
There was an article I read on there today about last year. Was it last year? The Euros, when all this, I don't know what, hundreds of people sort of barged in at Wembley, one of the England matches, through the disabled entrances, blocking access and causing chaos, basically.
It was quite poor. In fact, it got a bit of a slating in the media because I remember it happening. It was the Euro final against Italy, the match concerned. And of course, there was a lot of people. I'm not blaming it on drink and drugs or anything like that, but there was a lot of that going on because the game was later on in the evening, and I think people have been in London all day, and it's natural for people to go and have a few drinks. But then it also kicked off a little bit because we were still under some COVID restrictions. There was only a
crowd
limited amount,
restrictions.
To go in the stadium. And of course, it got a bit heightened, and everyone tried to have a go. I don't know whether there was something heightened things in general. I don't know whether the police presence was over the top. I just don't know. But people started trying to break in, and the way you get in as a disabled person at Wembley, and same as most stadiums, particularly in a wheelchair, because they open the big gate to let you in. You go in that gate, they lock you in. It's like an airlock door. Then they open the other one to let you in the other side after they've checked your ticket.
Okay.
It's a pretty standard thing. But of course, what these people were doing, they were seeing this big gate opening and thinking, this is an easy way to get in rather than going through a turnstile, which is difficult to get through. You can only get one at a time. So a lot of them barged in to this small airlock area to try and get through. Now, somehow, I think they then forced the way in through the airlock door on the other side, which, is easy to open once you're in there. And that's how they got in, and then they were trying to stop them, all the stewards trying to stop them. And of course, it was just, they were overrun. And a couple of disabled people could have got very, very seriously injured and were very lucky not to. So that created a massive, fuss in the media, which you'd expect.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we know, don't we know, the tragedy that this can, the potential of that.
You just only have to look back to Hillsborough, don't they?
Exactly,
and, I think that was one of the statements was made, that could have been another Hillsborough, but luckily it was avoided,
Ooh. So, on a brighter note, did you had an involvement with the London Paralympics, didn't you, 2012?
Oh yeah, that's
Games Maker.
Games Maker. I was an ambassador in Games Maker. Games Maker. I've still got the shirt in my wardrobe there, actually. That was a great experience. And again, that was one of these things that I was driving around the Wirral and Liverpool, and on the back of a bus, transport bus, one of the Merseyside buses. All these signs were on the back of these buses. Can you be a games maker? Are you a games maker? And I was like, what's all that about?
Computer games.
I kept seeing it on these buses every day. And I was like, nah, that's not for me. And I thought they were on about games maker, as in computer games.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So I just left it for ages. And then one time, I thought, I'm going to find out what this is. And when I looked, it was volunteering for the Olympics or the Paralympics, and the Paralympics. So I went, wow, I never even realised you could do anything like that. So I looked into it and applied. And of course, I got the role, and I was at Heathrow Airport for my time down there. And I had a whale of a time just speaking to the public, anyone coming into the country, and just guiding them around and telling them where they could go in London or wherever to enjoy the Olympics and other sites they could see while they were there. And it was just good to, to engage with people and to chat with people, all different nationalities, all that, And I just loved it. It was a good buzz, and you got a good feeling out of, volunteering and just helping people out generally. It was a fantastic experience. That gave me the volunteering bug, to be honest. And I'd applied for Radio Clatterbridge before then and some other roles, but after that, I went on to do a lot more with the Ashes. I did the Ashes series at Old Trafford as a volunteer. And luckily enough, I got to work in the media centre, which was with all the former players, the Graham Gooches, the Ian Bothans, all those. And that was a brilliant experience. And also did the 2013 Champions League final at Wembley. That was Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund when Klopp was the manager of Dortmund. So, and I did a VIP experience down there as transport coordinator of the VIPs. So again, I was really lucky with that one, got to meet a good few people.
I get a lot of people be saying, I want to do that. I want to go to these places, see these people.
It's a good experience, but you've got to do it properly and treat it professionally. You can't go in there and you get stars in your eyes. You've seen all these.
Take my photo.
I'd have my photo. Can I have your autograph? It's got to be really. You've got to do it properly, and there's none of that. It is done properly, and they warn you beforehand about that. You're not there to just to get autographs and mix with these people. You've got to do your job, basically. But it's good. It was really good again,
To the secretary of Liverpool FC disabled. Is that moving on from there, or was that around about the same time? How long? Well, how did this start off?
That was probably, it was a little bit earlier than the Olympic Games in 2012, to be honest, because I used to go before I got disabled. I used to go to every Liverpool game anyway at home. And then once I got me my disability and that, I was like, how am I going to go? Because I'm struggling to walk. I can't get up steps. It's just a nightmare. I'm never going to be able to go to the game again. I never even thought about wheelchairs and people with, disability problems, how they get to the game. I've not even considered it before. It was one of them things that I just didn't need to look at. And all of a sudden I did. So when I looked into it, I realized, actually they can go. You've just got to let them know you're disabled, blah, 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 and you can get a ticket to go. So I started doing that and then saw on the Liverpool website that they had an LDSA, which is Liverpool Disabled Supporters Association. So I thought, I'll join them. That'll be a good avenue and a good insight into the best way to go to the game and stay in touch with like-minded people. And of course, they had events, a couple of events a year, social events and all that. So I got involved with that, really liked it. So a position came up on the committee within a year of me joining. So I joined the committee, they accepted me on that. And then I went on from there and became secretary, and it snowballed, Brilliant. But unfortunately, I gave that up just at the start of the pandemic. So I've stopped doing that now. I've still got a good few contacts at the club, but because you never lose. You never lose them, but I don't think I'll be going back to that role. I'm still involved with some forums and supporter forums with the club, but not as heavy as it was, as much as it was, though.
Did you get to meet the players and the managers there?
Well, I was really lucky because I volunteered now. We used to get the guy at the club there, it was called Colin McCall at the time, who was the disability liaison officer. So when we had a do, and we had players come to meet the disabled people, he would always be the guy who'd announce it and, bring them in and all that. And I could see he was totally stressed with it and he was having to do everything himself. So I said, is there anything I can do to help you out? Now I'm on the committee, because I do some radio work because I was quite new to radio then. I only just got in. I said, but I do radio work. So, I don't mind doing a bit of help out or whatever I can with you and, do the compere role if need be. So he said, all right, you can do the next do. So next do, I think was, I can't remember, it was Martin Skirtle or Dirk Cout came along. I can't remember who it was. But he came along and I did the interviews with him and, had a chat with him. And it was brilliant. It was a good buzz. And then on the back of that, there was Brendan Rodgers who came to one do. So I escorted him round and, I had a chat with him on the mic. But Luis Suarez was the best one. I actually got overawed and a bit starstruck with Luis Suarez, and I don't normally get like that, but I was a bit starstruck when Luis Suarez.
He was great though, wasn't he, that last season? It was brilliant.
But that last season, 2014, 2013 Christmas, he came to our do, and 2014 was that that tremendous season we had when we didn't quite win the league, But with Suarez was actually I prepared a line when I was doing the speeches about when he first came in. Luis Suarez has done this, blah, 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 you know, and she's just doing a little intro about him and that. And I said I prepared a speech in Spanish to say good evening to him and wishing he had a good night with us and thank you for coming along to our do. Anyway, so I'd rehearsed it in Spanish because my Spanish is terrible. I don't speak Spanish at all, you know. And of course, on the night when I read it out, I completely messed it up. I just got a couple of the words wrong. Now, everyone I said it to didn't have a clue because all the people in the room were English. Luis Suarez just stood to my left. And I've got a picture on my phone. I should send it to you one day.
Yeah, send it.
Suarez is in pleats of laughter because he realised what I wanted to say and that I'd messed it up. So he's laughing his head off, but he appreciated the moment, you know. And I think that sort of broke the ice a little bit. And it was a really good night. And he was, at first when he came in, I thought, oh, he's not going to enjoy this. He didn't look very happy, you know. But he was actually brilliant. He was smiles all night and brilliant. So whether it was me breaking the ice, we'll never know. But and he was brilliant, you know. And there's been lots of other nights like that with other stars, you know. I mean, John Barnes I've met a few times only when he's been on the radio show. Alan Kennedy more times than I care to mention. I've got to know him as quite a good friend. David Faircloug's another one, and you know, then we've had all the players. Do
they work as ambassadors now for the club, David Fairclough, Alan Kennedy?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Not quite up as Ian Rush standard or Robbie Fowler, who tend to get the trips that go abroad to here and there and everywhere. And I know Alan Kennedy and David Fairclough are often going, how come them two always get the good stuff and we get stuck here at the club doing the club tours? So there's even a bit of envy there, you know. With them.
That was a pity Suarez left. I think Liverpool lost the bite, didn't they, when we lost Suarez?
We did.
No pun intended.
No, of course, I'd have loved to have kept him, and I'd have had him back in a heartbeat. I mean, it's too late now. I think he's past his best now. And
he was never injured, was he? He was like, you know, a skeleton of iron, or something Steven Gerrard said. You get kicked all over the place, but you get up and play on.
He just get on with it. He was really injured at all. He was really good, and he just got on with it. He really did. Just saw the other side of him a little bit. I mean, I suppose we were biased as Liverpool fans.
Of course,
with the biting and some of the niggly stuff he used to do to wind other players up. And, you know, when he's your player, you accept that and go, that's good. But when he came back with Barca and he started having a go, I think everyone saw the other side of it then from a Liverpool point of view. You know, we beat him in the end 4-0 at Anfield in that glorious game, you know.
Yeah, that was one of the best nights I've seen.
He wasn't a happy chap that day, was he, you know?
Were you there on that night, Steve?
Yes, I was.
4-0 Barcelona. Was that one of the best nights you've had there?
That is probably the best night ever. It came a close second to the Borussia Dortmund one when we came back with the Dejan Lovren winner in injury time. When we beat them 4-3 after we went one up and then they came from behind and we were going out and we still managed to get through. But I think that Barca game from 4-0 down, you know, we just went thinking, well, let's see if we can score two. They're likely to score anyway. We'll probably lose, but you know, to come back from that win.
Well, that day I was working at Narrow Park Hospital, and one of the lads there, staunch Everton supporter, all day kept playing Barcelona, just that Barcelona soundtrack because we were losing 4-0 and supposedly going out that night. The next day, everyone had "You Never Walk Alone" and every PC blaring around the office.
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was a bit like that in 2005, wasn't it? A lot of Everton fans were like 3-0 down at half time. That's you down and out. A lot of them turned the TVs off and then didn't know until the next day that we'd won it. I mean, I must admit, I had a few extra drinks that night. And when I woke up in the morning, I had to, was it true? What happened last night? You know, it was a bit like that, you know, I was like, but what a night. What a night, you know.
Even I watched on the telly, even watched it on the television, you know, the atmosphere, just the scenes there at Anfield was, I don't know, like a dream. Brilliant. Mentioning about the television, quite often we see you on Match of the Day. It's like, oh, I know him.
I've been on a few times now when the goal celebrations come up. And it's purely because I know Richard, who's the cameraman, the ones that do the the touchline cameras.
Yeah.
So when you get the close up of the corner or someone taking the throw in, he's one of those, and they normally have one on either side of the pitch.
Yeah.
And Richard, when he works freelance for Sky and BT and whoever, when he's at Anfield, he's always on the touchline where I sit down on the main stand at the Cop End. He does there. And I got chatting to him years ago saying, "Hey, get out the way, you're in my way." But I was joking about it.
Yeah.
And he's always been very good, and he made sure he's trying not to be in anyone's way. So we, from that moment back, whatever it was, 5 or 6 years ago, we just got a chat in, and every game he'd turn up, we'd have a chat. And I see him at some away games I go to, not that I go to many away games, but so we'd always have a chat and got to know him like that. And then eventually he started filming me when we score, because he could see how enthusiastic and how mad I go when we score. So he'd film me. And then, of course, eventually the director picked up on it and would put me on the screen on the TV, So
Brilliant.
That's how all that came from. So, and it's been increasingly more regular, hasn't it, over the last, I think it has over the last couple of years.
I keep looking for your name in the credits at the end of the likes of Match of the Day. Thanks to Stephen Evans.
I think the only one I've got with me credits on was the actual video from the 2012 Olympics. I got credited in the last bit of that. There's a film that was made about the background of the Olympics and who went to make it, the games makers and the volunteers and the ambassadors. And I think, in fact, I did see it. I am, along with all the other volunteers, we all got credited on the end of the film, So,
that's nice.
So that was good, but
get the recognition.
You can see him laughing his head off, and his bouncer, or whatever you call him.
You have a minder.
His minder stood next to him, 6.5 feet tall, built like a brick proverbial.
Yeah.
And even he's smiling like,
Have they all got minders, all the players? They all go around with them?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I've seen Salah quite a few times, Bobby Firmino turning up, and they don't seem to have anyone with them apart from a member of the LFC backroom teams who escort them into the ground, but not as minders, just to make sure they know where they're going. They come with their wives and families, so they'll just escort them in. But you don't see many of them with anyone else like a minder. But Suarez definitely had this big guy with him. But then again, maybe he was a bit more vulnerable than most because of his checkered past.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't know, especially going to away games. He was a bit controversial, I suppose, with other fans, wasn't he?
Yeah, so if you got Virgil van Dijk with you, I don't think you'd need anybody else. Any other kind of man the size of him.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to argue with him, would you? He's a big lad like that.
Do you know, just before we signed him, I was at the match. We were playing Southampton, and I spent half the match just looking at Van Dijk, thinking, it was a headline, and we might be signing this guy. And he was huge. He looked like he needed, planning permission, to walk into the ground.
I know, absolutely. And I look at him, and he's a colossus, isn't he? We used to go on about Ron Yates years ago being a colossus. But Van Dijk, he's like a graceful giant, though, isn't he? He doesn't look like he's moving, and he's got this presence on the pitch, and it's just, he's absolutely amazing guy.
Best defender
definitely
in the world.
The mainstay. It's definitely the mainstay of the main squad, isn't he? Or the player to build your squad around, basically. And he is. He's probably. I mean, you've got Salah, you've got Alisson in goal, and a couple of important players there. I mean, Hendo in midfield, very influential. Fabinho, but Van Dijk has just got to be the one I would send to my team round. He would be first name on my sheet every week.
Yeah, he's a rock. I remember what Shankly said about Ron Yates. He said to the press conference when we signed him, take a walk around him, have a look at that man.
That's right. He was the man, Shankly, wasn't he? And well, of course, you've got some connections there with it's your uncle, isn't it?
Oh, Jimmy Amelia.
Jimmy Amelia was signed by Shanks, wasn't he?
He was, when they were in the second division back in '62, I think it was.
Yeah, he sounds about right,
Up until about 65. He was the record, they sold him to Wolves, I think, at the time. It was the British transfer record fee, for a buy for a player. Yeah. And he's got, I think it's something like, he's on a milestone, the Liverpool Gold, while they're in the top rank. Alongside John Aldridge and who else? Can't think of the top of my head. Someone sent out a list on Twitter. Here's who scored the 1,000th goal, the 200th goal, the 50th goal, things like that.
I was telling my brother about him the other day, Jimmy Melia, and he was like, I know the name, but I can't picture it. And I was like, you must know, because I can remember. All right, I'm a bit older than my brother, 5 years older. So, you know, I remember the 60s a lot better, you know. He was only born in 65, like, so.
Oh, yeah.
Or 60. Yeah, so I'm 6 years older than him because I was born 59, yeah.
I was exactly the same year.
Yeah, so I can remember pretty much a lot of the mid to late 60s, not so much the early 60s, you know.
Yeah.
So I do remember Jimmy Melia and then Roger Hunt, and you know, and after that, Roger Hunt was my boyhood hero. Yeah, Sir Roger. Yeah, absolutely. I was gutted when he passed away not so long ago. Yeah, lovely fella as well.
It's the age we're at, I suppose, isn't it? We're seeing it. It seems like a week goes by when, you know, one of our heroes from our youth, you know, was sadly gone.
I know, sadly, yeah. It seems like it's happening all the time. It's just that, it's our age and it's our era, isn't it? You know, what we grew up with, and
it's life.
Unfortunately, that's life, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
Enjoyed that as well. It's just giving something back to the trust after the way they treated me. You know, the NHS, as you know, you've heard it all before about how good the NHS is, but you know, they saved my life. You know, it's as simple as that. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah. Well, look at the fantastic turnaround, the memories you just mentioned then, you know, the Paralympics, going to all these games, all these other involvements, and you could have been sat in the pub for the last 9-10 years instead.
Well, I probably would have been dead if that was the case, mate.
Exactly, yeah.
No, it wouldn't have lasted, you know what I mean? And it couldn't have happened. And especially where, you know, I'm on so much medication anyway, that it doesn't mix well. You see, it's all right to have an off drink, but you can't just sit in a pub all day and waste your life away. And which potentially could have happened if I had seriously thought about what I was doing. Because I was depressed at the time as well, and I was getting treated for that depression. But and of course, you go and have a drink thinking, I'll feel better after that. And of course, 1 or 2 always makes you feel better, but then it doesn't afterwards, does it?
No, it builds the depression, doesn't it? Feeds the depression, I think.
That's it, absolutely. So it was one of them vicious circles that I had to get out of quickly, and then, you know, there you go. But it's all right. It's like everything. If you do it in moderation, it's great, mate, you know, and all good.
I'm glad you.
All good, and I'm enjoying life to the max, mate, when I can, and do what I can. And I love to stay busy, and volunteering is great. I just love volunteering as well. You know, it's giving again. It just makes you feel good to give something back to people, and you know, to help other people. Yeah, really is.
That's a bit talk for about an hour on that, I think. Yeah.
I'm sure we could. We'd be here for another couple of hours
I think so,
with Liverpool and NHS and everything else between us, I'm sure.
Well, it's our time's caught up anyway. But listen, Steve, it's brilliant been chatting with you. Really delighted that you've agreed to come on, and really enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, so have I, mate. It's been good to catch up with you. Yeah, we'll have to do it again, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Over a coffee or a beer, even.
yeah. Let's get all this COVID restrictions out the way. Let's do that. Yeah, let's keep in touch anyway, as we have been doing on Twitter.
Well, we have anyway, so that's great. Good with me, mate. Yeah, not a problem.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Good to speak to you anyway, and hope you and the family are all right, and all the best for Christmas, mate.
Yeah, best wishes to yourself and your family as well, Stephen. Thanks for that.
No worries, mate.
All right, take care. Cheers.
All right, thanks a lot. See you soon.
Bye. Bye.